Hello, and welcome to another episode of Two Chicks, One Show, where we talk about one currently airing show, an episode a week as it airs. Last time, it was a couple weeks ago, we finished up the first half of the fourth season of Once Upon a Time, so we needed a brand new show, and what better new show to start with than the girl power, kick-ass, crazy Marvel geekery that is Agent Carter, which premiered on ABC last night.
Yes. So, all right, let's get into it. So we are reintroduced to Agent Carter, who is still mourning the loss of Captain America.
Who wouldn't be?
Yeah, exactly. And she is currently living in New York City in 1946 and is still working for the SSR. Now that the war is over, though, Agent Carter kind of has to readjust to being a woman within the workforce in the 1940s and is actually doing a little bit more filing and making coffee than kicking ass. But it isn't until her long lost friend Howard Stark shows up, and he is now public enemy number one for the SSR and needs Agent Carter to help him clear his name.
Dun dun dun! Intrigue.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really interesting stuff that goes on in these first two episodes. It was either the 2-hour premiere or episodes 1 and 2, whichever way you want to count it. It's technically 2 separate episodes. So it was really good. There's a lot going on, like a whole lot that happens in these 2 hours, and it actually felt a lot like a movie.
Mm-hmm. It's
at the end of the day.
The series, even we've only seen 2 episodes out of, I believe, the 8, so I guess there's only 6 more episodes left then, right?
Yeah, it's a 7-week event. Yeah.
So far, just these 2 episodes alone, it's very cinematic, this series. So you can see that they put a lot of money into Agent Carter.
A lot of money and a lot of effort, and I think because it's technically only supposed to be a limited series, at least unless it gets ridiculous ratings, which so far it's not, more on that later, it will probably not be coming back after the end of this first run, which is both sad and probably a good thing, because it means they can invest a lot more with very little actual risk. So anyway, getting into the actual story, the first thing that popped out at me, which because it was so immediate, was the idea that they're using what was really happening in 1946, which is all the GIs were coming home, and all of the women who had filled those roles in the workforce and who'd gotten used to it are now losing their jobs because, well, a GI who doesn't actually have the skills for this is home and needs a job, so we're going to give it to him.
Yeah. And
so, her first roommate, whose name I cannot remember for the life of me.
I think it was Colleen.
Okay, so her first roommate loses her job because of this, because GIs come home and now you have to give up your job. And not only does that hit home for her because she likes this woman, but then she goes to work at this place where she was kicking ass, taking names, and not taking shit from any man, working during the war, and actually seeing combat in a lot of ways. I mean, she's among the team in Captain America who storms Hydra's headquarters at the end of the movie. Now she's a glorified secretary.
Yes.
Which is very upsetting.
And why is there, not that I'm too surprised, but there was no other female agents that still are at the SSR? She's the only female.
Yeah, we didn't see too many female agents of the SSR in Captain America, although we did see Natalie Dormer's character. But what she was doing, we don't really know. I'm surprised and not surprised at the same time because, the SSR now needs a new mission statement now that they're back home. And which is why I don't know if the SSR becomes S.H.I.E.L.D. or if she founds S.H.I.E.L.D. outside of it. I think it's the second. But, it's I don't know that any woman besides her was ranked high enough.
That's true. It's just that there's absolutely no other woman there except for when the SSR is incognito as a
telephone company.
So there's women, which was a big job back then for women that were the operators. So that's the
whole family worked at a telephone company.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, there are operators, and there's obviously at least one woman who works for the telephone company who knows exactly what's going on, who allows Peggy into the secret SSR base beneath the telephone company.
Yeah.
So that is, first of all, there are a lot of Marvel Easter eggs and a lot of tie-ins and things that Agent Carter is doing because she's not only a character in Captain America, she also is going to appear in Age of Ultron and is going to appear in Ant-Man and appears a bunch of times, 3, during the current run of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And actually, this season, they have a new headquarters, and they've heavily suggested that the headquarters is Agent Carter's old SSR base. So it's possible that the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are operating out of New York.
Okay. Possible. She's also was in the last Cap. She was in the last Cap in
Right,
America.
she was in the last Cap, too.
We know that she's still alive
Mm-hmm.
at this point within the universe, as when Captain America visits her, she's an elderly woman in a home, but she's still alive. Don't know if that's...
We know that she's alive, we know she has at least 2 kids, and that she got married to someone that Captain America saved during the war. We have no idea who that person is.
Yeah. And
or if it will factor in at all.
I could be wrong, and I'm sure people will let me know, but whoever she got married to, I don't think she took his last name because her granddaughter is Sharon Carter.
Did we establish that it's her granddaughter or a niece?
Oh, maybe it's a niece. I just know that.
Yeah, I thought it was a niece.
She says something, and the person had the last name Carter. So I don't know if that's her granddaughter, her daughter, or what, or maybe.
Or maybe she just marries a dude named Carter.
It's possible. It's a common name. It's a common name.
We have no idea. We do know that there's at least one SSR agent who has a bit of a crush.
Mm.
Daniel, is that his name?
Yeah.
Who is played by an actor who many people will recognize from Dollhouse.
No, there's a lot of fangirling going on last night on Twitter over
because
Daniel.
of Enver. Yeah, the character's also adorable, and he's obviously going to be probably the one that covers for Peggy when they eventually figure out that she is the blonde woman who infiltrated the club thingy to steal back Howard Stark's radioactive implosion bomb.
Yeah, his bad babies.
His bad babies. Oh my god, can we not call them bad babies ever? Like, he kept saying it, and I shuddered every single time.
It was a little weird. So, just to backtrack.
Yes.
Howard Stark is on trial. People believe that he has been selling weapons of mass destruction to foreign countries, and now is people are afraid that whoever he's selling to will use them against America or whatever and give him the next Red Skull, blah, blah, blah. Howard Stark, of course, is denying all of it. And basically enlists Peggy to act as a secret agent and clear his name. And so she's kind of going behind everyone's back at the SSR, trying with Jarvis, the butler turned now secret agent, to clear Howard Stark's name as he's jet setting in Morocco. I don't know. He's somewhere.
Yes, Howard Stark is somewhere, probably hiding out so he doesn't get arrested a lot more.
Yeah.
And he is his quote bad babies have been stolen by whatever, and we don't even know what is going to be in the just treasure chest of bad babies throughout this next chunk of time. Or what's going to happen, but the show is probably going to end with them founding S.H.I.E.L.D. And we don't know how much it's going to intertwine with the Agent Carter one-shot, which is the genesis of the show, because that also showed the founding of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it happened differently timed.
Yeah, from what I understand, the one-shot is a year prior to the events that are currently happening. So.
Yes. So we don't really know what's going on or what's canon or what's not, but we'll go with what's in the show. And so, as you said, Jarvis shows up, and we get to meet the real-life inspiration behind Tony Stark's AI, who is my favorite character in all of the Iron Man films. So awesome. And he is adorably British, even though in the comics he pretends to be British. He's not really British. So that could be interesting.
Maybe he's I don't know. I just know Agent Carter is badass and she's my favorite character, but Jarvis is right there.
Right. So Jarvis is my favorite non-Peggy Carter character.
Yeah. He is pretty amazing. Everything about him is fabulous. And totally I don't know if there's been, myself and Tricia live tweeted last night, in case you guys weren't aware.
You should totally have been aware. There was a lot of tweeting.
Because we were everywhere. There's a lot of people that are wondering if this wife is real or not.
I think she's real. I also think she's dead.
Yeah, like, I think he had a wife. I don't know if he's still...
He wears a ring.
Yeah. But then I did rewatch it because live tweeting is exhausting. And there was one point where someone does walk into the house and say, "Oh, Jarvis," and he's like, "Oh, coming right now." So I don't know. That doesn't mean it's his wife. I don't know.
True, and I didn't notice that because of all of the frantic tweeting.
Yeah.
There was so much tweeting. But there were moments, like, originally I was, oh, okay, Jarvis is married. That's adorable. I didn't realize Butlers got married, but of course they probably have lives, and I don't watch Downton Abbey.
They married the maid, or the cook.
And, so, I thought that was cute that he has this, set schedule and that his wife doesn't like it when he's up too late or going out and, being a secret agent with a woman, doing all sorts of nefariousness. But there, toward the end, like the whole first episode, I was told he had a wife. The first half of the second episode, I think, was when people started asking the question, like, does he really have a wife? Because he actually can leave all the time and all this stuff. And because there was a lot of really interesting chemistry between Agent Carter and Mr. Jarvis. And it worked. I mean, it was one of those, like, people are going to ship anyone on screen who have even an inkling of chemistry. One of the people who were live tweeting it asked their followers, like, what we call the Howard-Peggy ship, and I said friendship. Because I don't ever want them to be anything more than platonic. I
don't think, that's, I think, dead in the water.
That's dead the moment she shoved him into the Thames.
Yeah, like, Peggy Carter isn't, like, Tony Stark's secret mother. Like, I don't think it's happening.
No, it's certainly not going to be that. But then toward the end of the second episode, there's this moment where they have, been in a big top of a milk truck fight, and he's patching her up, literally sewing up a wound. And it's an intimate moment, but it's also, like, he speaks about losing her in a way that makes me feel like he's lost someone before.
Yeah.
And a female someone.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to.
Hell, it could be his mother. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't want to focus too much on, like, oh, who's Peggy going to end up with? Because I could really give a fuck. I think Jarvis is cute. So, like, that's great, but, like, Peggy, like, they're really selling that, like, Peggy's one true love was Captain America. So, like, I think she could really care less.
Oh, I agree with you. I don't actually care in the grand scheme of the show, like, or in the week-to-week of the show, who she ends up with. Like, this is not who's Peggy Carter dating. But I do, in the grand scheme of the Marvel Universe, I am very interested in who she ends up with because they allude to it in Captain America 2 and don't ever actually say it. So it would be interesting to see if there's more interconnectedness than we previously realized, or something else.
Yeah, but, like, wouldn't it be, like, really big curveball if she ends up with, like, Chad Michael Murray's character, who's a total...
Yes. Sorry, I just can't. I have never seen him play not a douchebag, and it's affecting the way I feel about him, and I feel bad about it.
I don't know. I think this is, like, the role that Chad Michael Murray was born to play. Like,
He's very good in it. It's a fun character as a foil to Agent Carter.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, the Chief doesn't bother me as much as Chad Michael Murray's character. I don't even know what Chad Michael Murray's character's name is, honestly.
Neither do I. He has a name.
Yeah, I just don't. But the Chief, like, I think is just old school. Like, he doesn't necessarily irk me as much as, like, Chad Michael Murray just seems like this sexist asshole.
Yeah, the Chief is an old school character who's always worked with men and doesn't think women are capable of things. Yeah. And he's one of those guys that you write off as being ignorant and stupid. Whereas Chad Michael Murray's character and the bumbly one, they are specifically Chad Michael Murray's character, they are chauvinists. Yeah,
exactly. Whereas, like, oh god, it just bothered me.
Yeah, every word out of their mouths just made me want to take a shower. Like, at one point, the bumbly one, I think, says something like, get wiggling or something, and I'm like, please never speak again.
Yeah. But what's awesome is that like these guys are like sexist assholes, but like Peggy Carter like doesn't like as well like if someone was saying like stuff like that, I'd be like, yo asshole, like I get in his face, and she's just like like she's like above it, and it's like so great that she's like Daniel like tries to defend her, and she's like, don't even, like I don't need you to defend me, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
she says it so politely. She's like, I don't need to, thank you very much for defending me. Please stop.
Yeah.
And I do like that because she's an ass kicker, and she's going to punch people when they piss her off, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was 8 minutes before she punched the first guy. But she doesn't do it willy-nilly. She doesn't respond to chauvinism with violence or with anger. She responds to it with, I'm better than you anyway, so screw you, I'm going to go
exactly. But she doesn't do it like in this pompous, entitled way. Like she just knows, like she is aware of when she should fight and when she shouldn't fight.
Yeah, she responds by being better at her job.
Yeah.
Than they are.
So yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
There's so much of that going on. And then there's also a lot of other things happening, including constant mentions of Captain America. Yes. More in a twist of the knife way than this is about Captain America kind of way.
Yeah, like it wasn't like the whole entire series opens with that final moment between Peggy and Cap before he's I gotta put this in the water moment, and it turns out to be like a nice flashback, and it's kind of just showing that several years have passed since that moment, but it still haunts Peggy, and I think it haunts her because she loved Captain America, but I think also because she felt like she couldn't do anything. Like she's always been able to save people and help people, and that was like one situation where she honestly could not do anything.
Yeah, and she didn't just love Captain America, she loved Steve Rogers.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Steve.
Before he was Captain America, she thought he was cute. I mean, he was, but he was also confusing. Tiny Chris Evans concerns me. Every time I watch that movie, I'm irked until he's giant.
Well, it only takes like 20 minutes, so.
It's like 40. It's a good chunk of the movie. But anyway, yeah, I liked the way that they kept inserting Cap into her life, and that she mentions that it keeps getting inserted, because originally it's just that she has to go back into his old files in order to find a thing that will detect Vita rays, which are the things that made Cap, along with the serum. And so that she has to go back into his old files, and that twists the knife. And then in the second episode, she's constantly being bombarded with Captain America adventures, or Captain something. And those were really fun because they were a nice sign of the times, radio shows and things. And I liked watching the Foley guys get to be Foley guys, slapping the meat. And
he broke like a lobster at one point to show breaking bones.
Yeah, Wrist of Lobster. And they do that. It shows more signs of the times in that it's Captain America saving the damsel in distress, who is I can't remember what her name is. It's Betty something.
It's very close to Peggy Carter. It's
very close to Peggy Carter, but it's also Peggy Carter is an amalgamation of Peggy Carter from the comics and Betty Ross from the comics. So it's her name is a combination of all of those. It's like Betty Carver or something.
Yeah. She's a nurse. She's a combat nurse.
Yeah, she's a combat nurse because of course she's a nurse.
Yeah.
So I like that, and I do like that it's a close to Peggy name, and that it comes on at really inopportune moments, so that she's constantly hearing it. I thought that was a nice touch. At some point, she's really got to like raid the place or something, or break a radio. I expected her to break the radio during the fight scene when she's listening to it.
There's like this great fight scene between the guy that buys a bunch of bad babies, I don't know, the milkman. So she goes in and she fights him, and as she's fighting him, he's listening to the Captain America radio show and listening to Captain America fight Hitler to save the nurse. So it was like a great like parallel storytelling, but it's not Captain America in real life kicking ass, it's Peggy.
Yeah, it was a really great scene. That scene, the fight on top of the milk truck, which was just a showcase of how awesome she is at fighting people and holding her own in certain situations. Those were some great scenes from the second episode. And I like how they're keeping the Captain America thread throughout the show without it being, this is about Captain America. This is totally Italian. Did you see that movie? You should go see that movie.
Yeah, it's not like that. I think their tie-ins with Cap is more for you to like be like, oh, like feel bad, versus like, oh, did Peggy know Captain America?
Exactly. And God, there were just so many Marvel Easter eggs. We meet Dr. Vanko at one point briefly. He is pretty much an Easter egg himself in that he only appears very briefly. But he is the father of Whiplash from Iron Man 2, who is supposed to have been screwed over by Howard Stark. So whether or not we'll see the screwing over, probably not, is a thing that could happen. That was a funny Easter egg because that popped up and I was like, oh, I know that name. Which I don't know a lot of the Marvel Easter eggs while I'm watching because I only know what I know from the movies and very sparse Marvel Wikipedia entries because my Marvel Comics knowledge is sorely lacking as I have spent the last 3 years building up my DC knowledge. So we will get there. Finally started reading Marvel Comics. But so that was a fun one. There were a few others that I can't think of off the top of my head, but I think we hit the major ones.
Yeah. That was like the big one.
Yeah. One of the things that was really, I know that we both enjoyed, and this is going to come back to us talking about clothes, is the aesthetic of the whole show, which is really fun. It feels retro more than it feels like authentic 40s, I think, but it's still great. It's like watching a radio show, essentially, which I think was just so cool. And I love her hat.
Everyone loved her hat.
You have to. It's so pretty.
The hat was great, but that was not my favorite part of that sequence. I loved what they did with the color during the whole sequence was that Peggy, and it's not even just the color, it's also showing her in a man's world. She's walking through the streets getting ready to go to the phone company, and here she is in all red, white, and blue, and that beautiful hat, and she's walking through like this sea of men dressed in like olive green and gray. So like she's like this ray of light throughout.
She's this shock of color.
Yeah, like it was a really great, like I know that they took time to think of that. So a little shout out. It wasn't just like accidental. So it was great. I also read online that people are thinking that Peggy is wearing a lot of red, white, and blue as an homage to Captain America. I don't know if that's true.
Specifically making the choice to wear red, white, and blue?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I mean, it's very possible that she's doing it as an homage. It's also possible. My choice is always probably going to be the side with the people behind the scenes. But my guess is that, and this is another thing I read online, that her being that shock of red, white, and blue amid all the sepia tones and the earth tones and everything, was very superheroic. That she's meant to be a superhero in and of herself, even though she's not superpowered and, you know, crazy Howard Stark, Tony Stark-ish. So I like that a lot too, because this show, for me anyway, is the proof of product that a female-run superhero movie will work.
Yeah.
Because there are still a lot of people who don't think so, even though they've announced Captain Marvel and even though they've announced Wonder Woman, people are still like, oh yeah, but the lady.
I don't know. Even though she's technically not like a superhero, those things, like the killer lipstick, like when that happened, I was just like,
she was a super spy. She was James Bonding all over the place. Like, who was her cue? I want them.
Like super lipstick, the brooch that was also a pick. What else did she have? She was just pulling out stuff. Like I was like, where did she get
something that could open a safe?
Yeah, the watch. The watch.
Could open a safe. She makes the bomb thingy inert with like household chemicals. That was cool.
Yeah, it's just, oh, she is a super agent. But like in, you know, whatever. Well, I'm not even gonna get into it. She, she is amazing. I just can't.
There's also, and I think we should speak to it. The characters all feel really well realized, even in just these first 2 episodes. Like, they really hit the ground running, and I realized that like Peggy Carter herself did have a movie where she was an established character, but they allowed the character to grow a lot in the first 2 episodes. So we got to know a little more about her. She gets to be kick-ass and vulnerable all at the same time. They actually spent time letting her grieve her roommate, who we've known for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Because she's known her for very much longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
She obviously has, issues getting to know people because she worries that they're all going to die. She's got a track record. So she's well realized. Jarvis is well realized to a point where I'm speculating whether or not his wife is really alive and if maybe he's lost somebody in the past. Howard Stark was always an interesting character, but even like the other agents, like they're not entirely one-dimensional.
Yeah.
They are a little bit of caricatures, but it's still interesting. So I really liked that it felt like they took the time, even though this episode was these episodes, 2 episodes, were jam-packed with so much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It never feel like we were losing character for plot.
And that's just, I think, when you're dealing with a Marvel product, you can't just throw in a character anymore. Marvel's become so freaking huge that every character needs to have, like, I think they need to know what they're going to do with each character before they even put them on a screen.
Very possible. They make choices specifically.
Yeah, because people are going to remember that character, and if someone shows up in a few, like, it's just everything's so intertwined that I'm not surprised about how much developed these characters are, because if they weren't, they would be in probably a lot of trouble.
The other thing that they established in these first 2 episodes is a villain for her specifically to be fighting. Hydra, as far as we know, is gone. Of course, people who watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and who saw the last Captain America movie will know that Hydra is very much not gone and will be insinuating itself into the inception of S.H.I.E.L.D. Whether we will know who is Hydra when that happens is to be determined. But
Chadwick Boseman's character.
He is Hydra. Possibly. Maybe Daniel. Maybe Daniel is Hydra. You don't know. Ward was Hydra. But anyway, they've established this brand new villainous organization, also named after a mythological beast, called Leviathan. And we don't really know what Leviathan is doing beyond buying up a lot of implosion-y devices. Bad babies. But that was just one of the bad babies. The implosion device is one bad baby. There are a whole bunch left. And oh my god, can inventors who come up with doomsday devices please stop building them?
Well, in Howard Stark's defense, he just had it written down. And then whoever stole the blueprint, I don't know what the fuck it's called when you make a doomsday device. I don't know if they call it blueprints.
Doom blueprints.
Yeah,
Doom prints.
Doom prints actually bought the Doom print and then built it. So it's not Howard Stark approved.
Yeah, except still, stop writing them down. Stop doing anything when you invent a doomsday device. Can this destroy the world? Stop inventing it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so now we have Leviathan to worry about. And Leviathan will most likely only be a Peggy Carter established villain. Whether or not they show up in any sort of way later on is to be determined again. But I like that they give her her own villain. She's not fighting Hydra. She's not doing something that other people are doing. It's very much its own show, in as much as it is tied into the rest of the Marvel Universe. I liked it. I liked everything about the show. It was really good.
Yeah, I really can't think of one thing I didn't enjoy or like about this show.
Yeah, I liked everything, and that I don't know if it was just that good or if I'm just so relieved that it was that good.
I think it's a mixture. Like, I think it was that good, but I think it's also like I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off like fangirls' shoulders.
Yeah, we're not worried that the female-led show is going to be good. We know.
We were also like, oh, this has to be good because if it's not, then Captain Marvel is going to be pulled. Like, they're just going to be like, never mind.
Yeah, there is so much writing on a female-run anything in Marvel to do well, because, if this show succeeds, if it does well, and is well received, then that will make people more likely to see Captain Marvel,
Yeah. And it
and that
might
would
be
mean
more
maybe we'll actually
likely,
get a Black Widow movie.
or more likely for a Miss Marvel TV series to happen. What?
I want the Captain Marvel movie and the Inhumans movie to establish the Terrigen or whatever it is mist thing that makes the Inhumans whatever, and then to have from that we spin off with a Miss Marvel TV series,
I would be
because
so happy. Oh my god.
that would be
If you're not
amazing and it would
reading
totally work.
Miss Marvel, then don't talk to me. Like, it's so good.
Miss
It is
Marvel, Captain
so good.
Marvel,
Oh, so
all sorts of good. And I don't know. I'm hoping maybe we get an Agent Carter comic book out of this. Um,
good.
Maybe. I don't know. The series, even though it was really good and we were lauding it, and the feed was going crazy last night. I had the hashtag Agent Carter thing pulled up on Twitter while I was live tweeting it, and I couldn't follow it. It was going too fast. There were
Yeah.
too many people watching and tweeting about it.
Mhm.
Despite that, the premiere only got a 1.9 in the ratings. It started with a 2, and you can follow it, and it goes to a 1.7. So it got a 1.9 average rating, which is not bad.
No.
It's down from what the thing that I read. It is down 60% from the season premiere of season 2 of Agents of Shield.
Yeah, but it also is up.
It's up from
Oh.
Agents of Shield's normal
Yeah.
ratings, up like 16% or something, or 12%.
Mhm.
So it's actually doing better than what was originally at its time slot, which is good news. 1.9 isn't great for network television, but it is at or better than The Flash and their record-setting premiere this year. So comparatively, it's doing just fine.
Yeah, like from the article that we both read, which I'm assuming we read on Entertainment Weekly, wrote an
Yeah, I believe.
article. And I don't think ABC's taking it as a loss.
I don't
So
think they are
I
either,
don't
because
think,
the critical reviews were good.
yeah. So I don't think they're not, it's not going to be canceled. Like, I don't think anyone needs to be like, oh my god. I think we're good.
And I think the fact that it's, so far anyway, a limited series also means that they're not going to care
Yeah.
one way or the other about the ratings. If it were tanking to a point where they were losing money just putting it on the air,
Mhm.
maybe. But there's no way that they are. Like, this is good enough to keep it on the air, at least through the end of its run. And so we will at least get a full 8-episode Agent Carter, and I cannot wait for the next 6 weeks.
No. And this is a big deal. Trisha watched this live, guys. Trisha
I
usually
did.
does not watch anything live.
I don't. I watch almost nothing live. If I'm live tweeting a show, then I am watching it live, but those are the only times I watch anything live. And I was
So
excited enough about Agent Carter that even though I knew Kait was going to be live tweeting it, I had to do it too.
she stayed up. She stayed up 2 hours for it.
I was exhausted by the end
I
of
know.
it. It was a big deal. My tweets, you can go back ways, because I've also been live tweeting a rewatch of Lost.
Yeah.
And yeah, all my tweets are very caffeine-induced ramblings, but it was there. And I want to continue to do that for the rest of the series, since it's going to be only 6 more weeks, and since Wednesdays are my day off. The hope is to do this every week on Twitter. Me anyway. If Kait wants to join me, of course she's more than welcome. As are all of you. Hashtag Agent Carter. Hashtag 2Chicks1Show if you would really like to join the conversation. It's right here.
Look at our new overlays, guys.
Yeah, they're really pretty. So that's the plan, is to do it every week for the next 6 weeks and hopefully not die in the process.
Yeah.
But do we have any predictions for the rest of the show, or do we just want to let it run?
I think I'm just gonna let it run. I think there's a lot going on. I don't think
There's a whole lot going on. I don't know if I want to ruin it by predicting it.
My only prediction is that Chad Michael Murray is gonna become Hydra.
And mine is that maybe it's Daniel.
Yeah.
That is going to be the big question throughout the whole series.
Oh,
Are we going to find out someone's Hydra?
The waitress will get a job acting.
On the Captain America Adventure Hour
On Captain America Adventure, yeah.
That would be amazing. All right, those are our predictions. That's where we're leaving it. The show can play out as it will. Hopefully it's as much fun as the first 2 episodes were. I have faith. And I think that's it. So if you would like to join us every Tuesday at 9 o'clock on ABC's Agent Carter, it's on for the next 6 weeks. It's filling in the role that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. used to play. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be back in March. We will be live tweeting it, or at least I will, or at least I will try to, every week, Tuesday, 9 o'clock, ABC. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Tricia Ennis. She is at Kait Calabro. Hashtag 2chicks1show is the hashtag. And you'll be able to watch this episode on YouTube and on allgeektome.net, which sponsors the show. We will be back on this program next Wednesday at 6. We'll be chatting about the next episode of Agent Carter. And I think that's it for us this week. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Woo.